The telephone game. On the one hand, as I began to devour a steady stream of books about Jesus, I felt as if my whole understanding of him and his world was being opened up in new and exciting ways. For one thing, I began taking courses in ancient Greek so that I could learn to read the New Testament in its original language. I don't think that was the original language, but okay. It was thrilling. As a result, I added a religious studies major to my program in English literature and decided to spend my life teaching and writing about the Bible. Eventually, I was admitted to a master's program at Vanderbilt University, which kicked off with a religious regimen of learning ancient Hebrew. I even had the privilege of studying under some lady, a Jewish professor of the New Testament. Unlike some professors these days, who seem to make it their goal to tear down their students' faith, Dr. Levine was always extremely respectful of and concerned for her students' beliefs. Even more, she sought to enrich our faith by helping us to see Jesus and the New Testament through ancient Jewish eyes. This was a life-changing gift for me. In fact, as we will see later, it was precisely her teaching us how to interpret the words and deeds of Jesus in their first century Jewish context that would eventually help me to see clearly the Jewish roots of Jesus' divinity. Without the insights I learned from her, I could never have written this book. On the other hand, in the meantime, something else began to happen. I also began to encounter ideas about Jesus and the Gospels that were difficult to reconcile with what I had grown up believing. For example, in addition to the theory that the Gospels were originally anonymous, I learned that many modern scholars believe that the Gospels are not biographies of Jesus, that they were not authored by disciples of Jesus, and that they were written too late in the 1st century AD to be based on reliable eyewitness testimony. One of the textbooks I learned from, written by the now famous atheist New Testament scholar Bart Ehrman, even compares the way we got to the accounts of Jesus in the Gospels to the children's games of telephone. These are the words I read all those years ago. Nearly all of these storytellers had no independent knowledge of what really happened to Jesus. It takes little imagination to realize what happened to the stories. You are probably familiar with the old birthday party game, Telephone. A group of kids sit in a circle. The first tells a brief story to the one sitting next to her, who tells it to the next, and so on, until it comes back full circle to the one who started it. Invariably, the story has changed so much in the process of retelling that everyone gets a good laugh. Imagine the same activity taking place, not in a solitary living room with 10 kids on one afternoon, but over the expanse of the Roman Empire, some 2,500 miles across, with thousands of participants. We'll revisit the idea of the telephone game later on in this book. As we will see, this so-called analogy is completely anachronistic and has no place in any serious historical study of Jesus and the Gospels. Can't wait to find out that one, because it's obviously the game of telephone. People pass it down, there's no written record, stuff changes. So, yeah, how could it be exactly what he said originally? And how would we ever know? Or if he's even a real person. Okay, sorry. But I didn't know that 17 years ago. At the time, let's just say that it didn't exactly inspire confidence in me that the 4 Gospels were historically reliable. To make matters even more complicated, I also discovered that there were lots of other ancient Gospels outside the New Testament that I had never heard of before. In fact, some scholars argued that these lost Gospels, especially the Gospel of Thomas, should get equal treatment as historical sources in the quest for Jesus. After all, if the 4 Gospels weren't based on eyewitness testimony, why should we trust them instead of the lost Gospels? Or any other book about any other character who lived or didn't live and who has good ideas? Finally, and most significantly of all, I began to realize that many contemporary New Testament scholars do not believe that Jesus of Nazareth ever actually claimed to be God. Again, who cares? Anybody can claim anything. And is it so special to be God? Aren't we all? Isn't this boat? Isn't my air fryer God? Like, it's all God. Okay, of all the ideas that I encountered, this last one shook me to my core.